How you doing, people? Robess here. Talk to a man known by the name of Alex. This is a boy that's exposing things that's happening in Govan Hill. Alex, give me a description of what's going on, mate, and let people know.
We're basically just meeting here today at Glasgow Green. I got asked to come along to meet a few people, and we're kind of giving a bit of a public, kind of enlightening the public to what's going on with a few of our agendas, which are, one of them is my personal one's Govan Hill, obviously, and Rob has asked me to be here today to kind of form an alliance, just kind of see if we can bounce off one another and grow the traction, and get a bit more momentum, because I've had to go kind of quiet on what's going on with Govan Hill, because I've been in talks with other people, journalists and other organisations who have put an awful lot of work into Govan Hill and exposing the child trafficking rings, which we know exist. And there's been an awful lot of funding and an awful lot of hard work going into that, and when my videos went viral, I didn't realise that other people were operating behind the scenes of their own accord, off their own back, and had invested an awful lot of time and money in Govan Hill. So these people have since then approached me, and we've came to an agreement that by continually posting about it, we're ultimately probably damaging our own work by driving a lot of it underground into different areas, and that is something that we have found. People that we were looking at, individuals that we believe were at the top of the chain, have moved to other locations. They haven't been seen in the locations that we were very regularly surveilling them and watching them and seeing them operate, where they were well known within that community for who they were and what they represented, which is now what we're trying to expose. These guys have moved to other areas of the city, they've moved to the capital, they've moved north to places like Aberdeen and Inverness. They won't stop what they're doing. They won't let someone like me or the momentum that I've gathered damage their revenue stream, which is the sale of children and vulnerable young adults and vulnerable women that have been trafficked into this country, promised a better life, promised salaries, flats, marriages, cars, all the bullshit that human traffickers promise people. None of that ever transpires, it never ever comes to fruition. What they do get is they get led into slavery, modern day slavery. It comes under the guise of cleaning, being sent to work in hotels and places in remote locations. You only need to look at the hospitality industry in the islands and look at the workforce that's in these places. I know I've sat down and spoken to people that have worked for 50 pence an hour. They get room, they get board, but it's human slavery. They're working 18 hours a day, and it's rife, it's everywhere. And it doesn't matter what, when you mention child trafficking or you mention human trafficking, everyone thinks that it is about kids. It's about 60-year-olds, it's about 40-year-olds, it's about anybody that works in
Glasgow, or is it in
it's everywhere, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, it's in every walk of life. It's in the back shops of restaurants, it's in kitchens, it's in salons, it's in nail bars. It's forced labour. It's forced labour where an organisation will pay an individual £6 or £7 an hour for 10 people. The leader of that organisation will keep £5 of that from every person and they'll get a quid, One of the big industries for it, and I'll say it, and I don't care what if anyone disagrees, is the Scottish fruit industry, the hop picking industry, massive industry. Every year, tens of dozens of planes will land in Glasgow from Romania and Bulgaria and places like that, Eastern Europe, and the hops pickers are picked up, taken to static caravans in Perthshire and places like that, where 25 or 30 of them will be put into a 40-foot static on cot beds, and they'll work insane hours and be paid pittances, no checks, nothing. Now, I deliberately tried to infiltrate that industry a couple of years ago with a falsified workforce ready to go. I contacted every farmer and every hop farm in Scotland, and some would speak to me and some blanket refused to even take my calls because the industry is tied up by Romanian and Bulgarian cartels who make millions for slave labour. That's human trafficking. They traffic them here and then they ship them back, and they work 17, 18 hours a day. And I've been up and I've sat in Perthshire and we've put surveillance on these guys and we've watched them, and this is all fact, this is all easily proven. And no one bats an eyelid, and the supermarkets don't bat an eyelid, because you shouldn't be able to buy, you know, a pound of strawberries for £1.50, but you can because of the cost of getting them out of the ground. Scottish, if anyone Scottish wants a job in one of these farms, the answer's immediately no, because they would have to pay the national minimum wage. They're not going to do that because that would collapse the industry. So there's a form of human trafficking that no one bats an eyelid about. It's everywhere, it's on your doorstep, it's all over the city, and everyone just thinks automatically that you're talking about children. I'm not always talking about children. People trafficking children for financial gain are my absolute priority. Someone questioned me last night about why there's not been a lot said about it, and when I'm involved with a homeless charity. There's a lot of hours in a day, there's a lot of hours in a week, there's a lot of time to do a lot of things, for me anyway. I don't watch television, I don't sit in the house, I'm not that type of person. I choose my battles, and there's a few things that absolutely rile me. One of them is homelessness, one of them is people living destitute in a country as wealthy as ours. You know, we only need to walk by the city chambers and see councillors being driven around Glasgow in Bentleys waving out the window like they're above the average guy in the street. You know, until we knock crap like that in the head and, you know, get rid of this us and them, there's always going to be trafficking and criminality and exposing people and benefiting out of vulnerable people that can't fight their own battles and can't defend themselves and will work in establishments and be enforced into slavery because they can't defend themselves. And if there's people if we choose guys like Rob and that, if people choose to educate themselves and then share that information with a public that are getting their brains diluted with crap from the media every single day, you're just led to believe that that's the truth. It's not the truth. It's definitely not the truth. You know, I don't even know why anyone's still buying newspapers. Rupert Murdoch lied to us for decades, proven time and time again, and people still buy these papers. And these guys are living like billionaires in Monaco because they fed you shit for 40 years and you bought it. So people need to stop believing it. It's all lies, it's all deceit, it's all white noise, and it's designed to confuse you. And unfortunately a lot of people are easily confused. But we're waking up. People like Rob, the Anti-Corruption Scotland, are educating us. I follow Rob and I listen to what he says, and it's very, very interesting. And the establishment is in fear of people like Rob, and for good reason, because, you know, the truth hurts. The truth hurts the narrative. And until folk are going to wake up en masse, there's 20-30 people here today. There should be 30,000 people here today. Not to listen to me. I'm just a guy. I'm just a normal, everyday guy like Rob. We're reading and we're learning and we're educating ourselves, and we're going to share that information, and they're not going to like it. The establishment doesn't like it.
And that's what's sad about it, that nobody's listening.
Unfortunately, it's gaining momentum. Social media is a double-edged sword. It's starting to waken the public up to what's really going on. And we're not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. You know, I take the hate as well of been alienated from people close to me. And that's just life. They don't want to be attached to something because they think it's a hot topic, or you're the hot topic, and people don't like it. And that's fine. That's fine. The circle gets smaller all the time, and we're still here. We're still doing it. We're not going anywhere. And as long as people are open to listening, we're open to doing what we do. I'm certainly not going anywhere. I only represent myself and my own beliefs. I'm not here to convince anybody anything. I'm only here to share what I'm finding. There will be some big things coming out about trafficking in Govan Hill. They can move around the country. Scotland's a small place. It's 50 miles coast to coast. It's not a big place at all. And you know, these guys are high on the radar. And the media, in conjunction with the establishment in Scotland, can make repeated statements that it's not happening. But unfortunately it is, and we know it is, and we're proving it by the day. And they ask me regularly for information, and as close as I come to giving them it, something then happens which puts me off helping them damage my message, because they make the statements to the media. The media just print it.
Aye.
They'll do anything to sell a rag. But it's difficult, it's very difficult, because they'll put it on you and they'll give you the guilt trip, say, but if you don't give us the information you have, you're putting children at risk for another week or another month. And I've had to be convinced by very intelligent people, investigative journalists, analytical people, who say to me, don't buy that. That's what they told us 2 and 3 and 4 years ago. They guilt tripped us and derailed our momentum and derailed our message. And I have sat down with child protection officers, and I have read horrific things, and I've been sent horrific things. And I'm in talks with a guy just now. I'm in talks with 3 dozen people just now who have been historically, systematically abused by people who are still on salaries in the city chambers and high up in councils and high up in all sorts of Glasgow organisations. We have their names, we have who they are. We've got sworn testimonies from school teachers who verify stuff that happened 15, 20, 25, 35 years ago. Organisations like Kibble, foster care units, systematically raping young boys in their care. There's survivors stood next to me, people that I've got my great respect, and they've been brave enough to tell their stories. And it's humbling, because, you know, I know now, I'm friends now with some of these people, and they're telling the truth, but they're getting suppressed by those in power who want to silence them because it looks bad. Just because it looks bad, it makes these organisations look bad, and everything they've stood for the past 20 or 30 years, it puts a dampener on it. They don't like that. They don't want to admit that it happened. We all know about warriors and everything else. No one's standing up and making a statement. No one's coming to these people, and you know what? When you, Mags, made a video at George Square a few weeks ago, I says to a guy next to me, a police officer or whoever he was, I said, would it not be amazing if one of you guys just went and gave her a cuddle? Just as an act of humanity? And he's like, we can't do that. And I went, why? Because somebody told you you can't do it. I said, maybe the person that told you that you can't do that has lost his empathy, you know, because he's been in an organisation for 25 years representing the false narrative and the systematic destruction of the human race in this country by enforcing people to follow something that's just not true. Ultimately we're all people, we're humans, we're just people, that's who we are. Surely our priority is to be humans first and foremost before we represent a uniform. That's it for me. It's just wrong. It's not working. The system's broken. The whole factory's broken. Everything that they try and push on us is a message of doom and gloom, and you know, the dampening of the human spirit. We're all here for the same thing. It does wear you thin. You've got to be resilient. You've got to keep going on. You know, guys are getting like him getting arrested for free speech. But what are we're not living in Zimbabwe. We're not governed by, you know, we shouldn't be under a dictatorship. We've got people speaking freely and getting carted away in police vans for speaking, that's not a criminal offence. It's not an offence of any sort. If you're offended by that, or you're acting on behalf of an organisation that are offended by a free thinker and a free speaker, something seriously wrong with that. So, you know, we could talk all day about it until people wake up en masse. We're always going to stand out here in the rain and there's only 20 people
Don't
here.
let them keep us down.
No, here.
How you doing, people? I'm glad, and it's an honour here to speak to this guy here, because he's doing impressive stuff to awaken the people for what's going on. Emails, Mandy and other people are exposing child abuse. And right now people have to waken up to the facts. This is not a conspiracy theory. We the people that are exposing the system for the corruption are doing it for the right reason. We're trying to educate you people. Stop reading the newspapers, stop listening to the radio, stop listening to telly. It's all propaganda machines, right? Now, when people, like your man here says, Alex says that they ask for information, the reason they're asking for information is because it's a form of trickery. Because when you give that information, that gives them the progress to shut you down and divert and tell lies. Now, I can stand here right now as an honourable man in private capacity under full liability and tell you everybody, including your politicians, Police Scotland, lawyers, everything in the legal system, legal society, are paid liars. The system is manipulated. That's why there is no remedy when you make such a thing as a complaint. Complaint is a farce. It's all the same people within the system protecting the same people within the system. There is no remedy, and people have to waken up to this. And the reason I want to speak to the guy Alex today is I want Alex to know that I support him and I will help protect him for what he's doing, because he's doing a great thing, the same as the other people like myself and Anti-Corruption Scotland. We do this for the right reason. We don't get paid for it, we don't ask for funds, we ask for nothing. We do it because it's important that sons and daughters, the vulnerable and the elderly and all the slavery, the people that's been used as slaves for cheap labour, be protected. This system isn't going to protect them. This system is part of the problem. And the paedophiles lie at the top of the Parliament. Nicola Sturgeon right now, I've called her out umpteen times. She is obstructing child abuse inquiries. It's my understanding, for what I've been told, that she's moving to Dunblane, and it just so happens there's a child inquiry up there now just been suspended. Do you not find that strange, people?
Yeah.
So this is what you have to walk out. People think that the sun shines out of Nicola Sturgeon's backside. She's a paid liar. She's a traitor to the people of Scotland, and she's a traitor to the lands of Scotland. All politicians have to go. We have to take the people back, take back control of that Parliament and make the Parliament the justice system and stop this abuse. And then we get caught with abuse, downloading pornography of sons and daughters being abused, giving them maximum jail sentences and no parole. Anyway, people, I would like to thank Alex for taking time to speak to me and being here today. And I'd like to thank all the people that was here now and earlier that stood in the rain. And we had a good discussion. It wasn't the kind of discussion we want in this kind of day, but it shows you the strength of the real people that care, and we're the real people that care, including the man Alex here. And I'm delighted to meet this man. I'll support this man all the time now. Okay, thank you, people.
Thank you, Alex.